There you
There you
go.
go.
So, good afternoon. Oh, there's Jamie. October 18th, right, meeting of DDIC is called to order. Wait, are these?
These are minutes from the August meeting.
Okay, yeah, so Dave Gardner had, thank you, Dave Gardner mentioned that meetings that he was working on, he would not have until next meeting. And as far as I know, these are all, in addition to the ones he's working on, these are only other minutes that are outstanding. So, if you could take a look at them to know we just received them. And jog your memory. I know we're just meeting. Now entertain a motion.
I move to accept the minutes of August 16th, 2016.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
So, thanks, so, I imagine Barbara keeps, somewhat track of, lining up meetings and minutes. I'll ask her. So, anybody here for public speak? John's not here. Move on. No one else is either. Jamie, you're on deck.
Okay, not much going on right now. Planning board will be doing the site plan approval tonight for 130 Cottage Street, which, if everyone remembers, was the building that had the zone change at the top of Cottage Street. They are applying, or they're submitting a site plan for approval for their new uses. There's going to be, or they're proposing a butcher shop, hair salon, and financial services, and some sort of ongoing general retail if vacancies open up.
You say a butcher shop?
Interesting.
Yeah, they put the pieces together at Galaxy in the chamber.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Meetings.
A gentleman named Vincent is very excited about
Yeah?
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we spent some time in Italy and wants to do sort of an old school
Butcher shop.
butcher
Cool.
shop.
So just exclusively that, just walk in and get your meats kind of thing.
Yeah.
Get some deli sandwiches too, potentially, or you know what I mean? It's that kind of, a little bit of
Nice.
in-house dining, I think, was a little bit of the idea too.
Yeah.
He sounded a little bit vague based on the square footage and stuff, so I was excited for him, but a little nervous.
And
No, I
remind me,
think it's
Jamie, on the
fine.
zone, I know the zone change was needed because of the way it was.
It was R5, or sorry,
Right.
R10, and now it's downtown business.
Right, and so no parking issues based on the regulation?
Because the building was built prior to 1972,
Yeah.
in the downtown business district, there are no required parking, on-site required parking. In the R10 district, parking is required.
Good.
So, that was one of the major pushes to go, you know, one of the reasons is you can't redevelop that building if the site's too small, so you would lose
Right.
all of the development potential, so parking.
Yeah. Did we submit a letter of support for that zone change? Not that I
We
know.
did.
Talked about it, but
I think not.
Okay.
I think it was maybe during one of the times when we couldn't quite get a
Yeah.
quorum together.
Oh, right.
Well, if anybody asks, we're in support of it.
Well, the meeting's tonight if you want to physically
Show that sports.
be there and show the support. It's at
Demonstrate that.
6 p.m., so it's only an hour to kill between this meeting and that one.
And another meeting.
So
Great.
that's all I have.
Okay.
What's going on with the deli on Cottage? I thought they were developing the Lorraine's TV and absolutely nothing's
Yeah.
happening there, nothing.
I
They
thought-
said they were gonna be open this month.
Yeah,
What
I
last month?
thought so too. They originally, as everyone knows, they were permitted for as part of the off-map tattoo
Yeah.
move. And then they reapplied, they switched their permit from that location to the TV.
Yeah.
They
They're,
got the
I mean,
permit.
they're still open
Yeah.
studs there,
they
nothing's
were
happening.
doing
I don't know.
something at the Nonotuck this weekend, part of the harvest
Yeah.
celebration, so they were doing something there. It's a young couple with a child,
Yeah.
and they don't have money for consultants and those kind of things, so it's going very slowly. It's
Yeah,
just,
okay.
I think they're still interested and committed to doing it. I just don't think that they have got a lot of money to jump right in.
I almost thought they would have been, because since they
Yeah,
made their
Bliss.
announcement, Bliss closed.
Yeah.
I mean, they could go into a ready-made spot.
Yep, I know.
No, I know.
I understand there's a,
It's haunted.
well, no, I think there's a big rent difference between the two spots though.
Right. And I think it's probably bigger than what they were looking for.
Yeah.
Because it's got a full basement. Carl had put in a nice
Right,
walk-in
bakery down there.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing a great job just cooking. I don't know where they're cooking,
Yeah.
offsite somewhere or whatever.
They're using Pulaski.
Okay, because we used them a few times for meetings that we
Yeah.
needed some
Oh, yeah.
refreshments.
Yeah.
It was fabulous.
Yep, no. They're a sweet couple. Yeah, and there's,
Yeah, just
Yeah.
getting it going.
took me a year and a half to open Apollo. So I haven't been there, done that. I know what it's like.
Yeah, I hear you.
Good.
Okay, I'm gonna skip over 5 for the moment and then go to 6.
I know they're having some issues over there. They're having trouble getting new members.
Well, they need a
Obviously
direct-
lost, they need a new director.
There actually is a meeting.
On the 26th, next week, there's a meeting.
I think people are going to city council, might be today, actually.
Oh,
to look for
tomorrow?
fully funded?
To look for more funding.
Fully
or
funded, yeah.
I asked for my wife, she's a nurse manager at Bay State.
Nice.
She's itching to move on a little bit.
Oh, yeah?
But the salary's just not something that she can accept. She'd be awesome at the position, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Was it 36?
45.
Oh, it is?
or
Yeah.
something.
But it's funded in a big part by grants or something too?
Yeah, part of it, yeah.
The funding is really uncertain.
It can be very
for long
uncertain,
term.
because I know, yeah.
But it's,
Well, yeah, that's, you know, hopefully they'll be able to regroup, you know, and they're part of the wheel. My only comment on it is just in general, I know nothing about the ECA, you know, current internal, but my observation is with that director, the city engineer, even our building commissioner, what we're lacking a little bit, they're all one person departments, you know, and it just, you need to get, you know, through some growth maybe a little bit bigger. So if you have an assistant, you know, it's funding, I understand, but it just makes it so that when someone leaves for whatever reason, you don't.
There's a
get
void.
this- Yeah, void, and institutional
Yeah.
history and this and that.
Yeah.
Just putting a plug for the coordinator position is open if anyone knows of
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
motivated.
Yeah, you know, it's
hard. And-
Self-directed.
Which
having
position is that, Jim?
The ECA
ECA
coordinator.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I believe that the building inspector, the building commissioner has been filled.
Oh,
Oh, really?
that's good, that's good.
I don't know when the new building commissioner will start, but I heard that.
But to Dave's point about, it's not just about succession planning and having more than a one-person department, it's about having it right-sized, even in a one-person department, right salary sized. You know, you bring on a great person as the building commissioner. We thought we had a great person, and we did have a great person as engineer, but it's able to drive over the mountain for a significant salary increase. So it's part of the growing pains of the city too, of being
Yeah.
able to keep up with salary inflation, if you will, around us. And people that are really good at what they do are gonna be in high demand.
there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's nothing new, but still, it's something to work on.
Mm.
All right, well, hopefully they'll figure it out, because, and Josh is, I'm sure, more aware than I am that, you know, cultural chaos begins with a no.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, I know, yeah, and I know Jessica has actually kind of stepped in and doing some of the
Yeah.
paperwork, so.
Well, fortunately, there's a template.
Yes.
And I would say that the volunteers on EC are really good and
Yeah.
really motivated.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
people who are stepping up
Stepping up
and
to the plate,
doing more
yeah.
than, you know, the volunteer would normally be asked to do, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of it.
And
And,
I mean, on that note, I don't know if ECA is part of Old City Hall renovations.
No.
They're not, okay,
No.
that's,
they are part of.
Well, the building, yeah,
Yeah,
they're-
they're part of City Space and they're on the board of City Space and.
But just
But
that-
City Space itself is the group that's doing the
Yeah, okay.
renovations.
they're having a public announcement on November 10th.
Yeah.
That's what I understand.
yeah, we're having a meeting at 6 o'clock tonight,
Tonight.
but yes, we are. Yeah, Coon Riddle's gonna be showing the drawings
Oh.
and you're presenting some food, I think.
Yeah, I'm bringing up some food.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can you say who the new building inspector is? Is it somebody local?
I actually don't know them.
It's not an inspector, right?
It's
It
a
turns-
building- it's building
it-
commissioner.
Building
And so-
commissioner.
Building commissioner actually has, by statute and title, is the building commissioner, the building inspector, and the zoning enforcement officer.
So we're gonna have
But
those three positions in this city?
Or they have
No,
three
that's
hats.
the three different
Oh.
titles that the building commissioner
Holds.
And,
And-
and
It has
also,
to be
yeah, and
there.
also, you know, they're kind of
Or
also the planning, or the building department director, you know. But I don't know if any of that's changing or what the new person would be.
Yeah,
But
building-
based off the past, that they would be doing all of those roles.
Yeah, in cities, you need to have a building commissioner, and that's how the state defines it. Building inspector, you know, works under him. And I mean, you can always refer to the state inspector when you get in a jam, but it makes things, well, the zoning enforcement, that's just, you know, whatever comes up. Whatever, you know, whatever chicken controversy there might be.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have anything to say about number 7, plastic bag ordinances?
No, have no
It's just-
other
it's just-
info.
heard any words or-
Yeah, I haven't either.
Nothing.
You just keep it here until we, in case they,
Yeah.
well, that happens. And
Mhm.
I have no, I'm unaware, but has there been any more additional since we spoke last, liquor licenses?
Well, the 4 have been approved.
Right,
And then Will Bundy withdrew his request.
that's right, that's right. So he must be working on it or something.
So there's still 4 available.
The city's sitting on 4.
Sitting on
Yeah.
4, so you, tell your friends and neighbors.
They,
It's a good position to be in.
Yes.
They-
Absolutely.
Did they receive, the state approval part of it?
No one has received that quite yet, but I imagine they're close. They don't take that
The
long.
process is that it's approved locally.
Right.
And then
Right.
it's approved by the state, and then the local commission sets the rate, or maybe that's predetermined. but,
Yeah, it's pretty determined.
um,
Yeah, but an inspector from the ABC comes
Yeah.
out and looks at it and then gives it the thumbs up.
But I agree, having some in the hopper is a good place to be.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Number 9? Is going
Gift card program continues to
Grow. There you go.
Yeah, we're up to 35 separate listings, locations, folks that are taking the gift cards. Gift cards are starting to surface and being utilized, and I'm excited about the different, the variety of where people are using
Oh,
their gift cards. Galaxy's gotten a few, Peaceful Pools and Spas out in Southampton, B-Fit over here on Northampton Street.
oh, yeah.
And ESP Auto, and I'm really excited for them because they gave me a call to let me know that they got one, and they're excited. And they were excited because it was new business, it wasn't
Right.
an
Yeah.
existing,
Oh,
customer,
Oh,
so.
cool.
And
They're-
that's the way that we view it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's advertising or something like that.
Right.
So it's like if it brings one new person in, that's all we're looking for because
Yeah.
theoretically we're good enough at what we do that people
Yeah.
want to come back. Same
Yeah.
thing with the mechanic, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so they were just tickled pink, so.
So do you know, in your case,
Cool.
Casey, do you know if they were ones that the user had received it as a gift?
At
I
the
know,
golf.
they were all golf.
Oh, the golf.
They're all golf. I get a report, you
Yeah.
can see which ones are being used.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I mean.
So far, but we've already,
Some.
we've sold about $400 worth.
Oh, good.
So the golf ones, that's the bank's support of economic development.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know.
No,
I
and
mentioned
that's
that
what a
every
bank
single-
does that.
And the thing is, it's not like you have
Where the money
a
is.
big resource to advertise the gift cards. You know,
Well, we
it's all
haven't really,
in-
yeah.
It's
we
all
haven't-
in-house stuff
Right,
so
but
far.
which leads me to my segue to, I don't know if you've noticed, but in this issue and for this issue, the next issue, we're skipping an issue, and then the last 2 issues before holidays of Business West, we have a quarter-page black and white, come check out what the buzz is all about in East Hampton.
Uh-huh.
Sort of campaign. So that's happening. We have our gift guide, gift card guide that just went to the printer, which is a full color, which has also been in partnership with Bank ESB, helping us do that. So we should be getting those
How
by
will
next
those be
Tuesday.
distributed? Those are the guys who.
Well, those are, the initial intent, the long-term intent is for those to be included in the chamber's directory, which was traditionally is the member-to-member directory, but we're shifting focus of that to a business-to-consumer directory. So the content's gonna change, the focus is changing, so that insert will go inside of that, which will ultimately be mailed to 10,000 homes, whatever the circulation is for the Gazette. But in the meanwhile, we didn't wanna wait until 2018, until the next printing of the directory, so we're doing inserts now, which we can use to insert into those directories as I use them, as people come in to take them. But I also am going to be sharing those with the participants who are using, who are taking them, so they can pass them out and share them, and then however else I can get them out.
And if someone purchases a card, they'll
Oh, yeah.
get one with their card.
They can, yeah, yeah. Well, we already have inserts that go into the card, so that card will always have its little insert in its sleeve, so you don't have to speak.
Yeah.
Thing, but if people wanna take the big, large one, they certainly can. And then we'll have another, so we're having a printing, 1,000 for the holidays, and then another 1,000 in June 2017.
You know, what'll be interesting from a marketing perspective is the customers, if you will, who buy these,
Yeah.
becoming salespeople for you.
Yeah.
So someone walks into a business and says, "Can I use this?" "Oh, no, I don't accept those." You get that enough times and you're gonna decide you want to accept it.
Right.
Yeah.
They become your salespeople in a
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. So, over the moon over it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well,
it's nice.
because, hopefully next year you'll have an app.
You're right.
Yeah.
It blows my mind the other day, my son was home, you guys are probably all aware of this. I mean, I'm aware of it, but I saw it in action. He was in from Nashville for a wedding with 5 buddies, and they had different flight times. So they go on their phone and they just hit Uber, and 3 different cars show up.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't even speak to anybody.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, and there were 3 cars in my driveway, and I'm like, whoa, within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I said, call Valley Transporter,
No, give it.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
that's good, good.
Yeah.
So, number 10, I'm just gonna wait to hear from Jessica. Yeah.
I haven't heard any.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah, she'll let us know.
I did check out the ping pong place.
Oh, it's awesome.
Have you?
Yeah.
I haven't checked.
It's awesome. They just became new members.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're taking the gift card too as well, so.
Okay.
No, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I tell people, because
Yeah.
there was 9 other guys there playing.
Yeah.
I was in my head, I had a couple of sliders at the mill at the park and went over and played some ping pong.
There you go.
No, I was happy to see that, because my son used to play in Springfield, somewhere, and, no, but it was the same thing. It was, there was the regulars, and there was the guys that popped in, there's a few leagues, and it's,
It's awesome.
yeah.
And it looks like the folks at Keystone have set up a function hall.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I
I'm
haven't
gonna
been
go
in there
check that
yet.
out
This-
actually.
the-
Friday.
Boylston? Yeah, it's called
Boylston
Boylston.
Boylston Room, I think there's
Yeah.
gonna be, the last time I talked with Erin, there's gonna be 2 separate venues, a smaller, like for business meetings and that kind of thing, and then a larger wedding sort of thing, which I think is the one that's up and running, is the wedding,
Yeah.
or the larger party,
Huh.
venue.
That's good, that's good. Okay, so now number 5, all I wanna do is simply, this is a report that Jessica mentioned, last meeting. I have only, barely skimmed it, but, I think Jessica started saying, and the mayor said she wants to pursue some of these recommendations. So all I wanna do is pass this out, if you could. And then, we can, review it between now and the next meeting. It is, it's 44 pages, but it's not 44 pages of text. I mean, it's not a, there's some zoning, there's
Yeah.
some tables and stuff, but, and, and if you get in trouble, you just read the summary. Or read the summary first, then read it.
Go back.
But, the whole idea is just, I have not spoke to the mayor, in depth. She just mentioned she wanted to pursue, in general, some of the recommendations. And I thought if she's gonna do that, then we should just be kind of aware of it. And the only other point I'm gonna add to that is, like the stuff we just talked about is awesome, the mills. But there's one little drawback, and that's not even the right term. It's all awesome, but it doesn't help the tax base as much as new growth does. So I look at it like a baseball game. You have singles, doubles, triples, home runs. lunch, whatever, and everything in the mills is good. The mills values are coming up slowly, that's all wonderful, but at the same time, if there's something that can happen once every, a new development once or twice every couple of years, it helps the tax base, and that's just, so if there's anything in here, I mean, this is industrial / manufacturing, which I think when I did read it, for us means industrial / mill industrial, and mill industrial is the mills, there's not, I think there's very little mill industrial space that's green or vacant that you're gonna build something new on. So there is some industrial space, and then of course there's always, down the road at some point in time, maybe One Ferry Street.
So Dave, this is what it
Rumor
says.
is it that someone's looking at.
Oh yeah, good. I didn't know that.
And rumor has the Patels are interested in doing something.
Oh.
Yeah.
So.
In town?
Yeah, someone that works for Ziggy Porth was at the bar inquiring about the building next to us, and he said they were hired by the Patels to look at 3 potential pieces of property to develop.
Because we know there's plans for Cottage Street Motors
Yeah.
on the table that I think are gonna start soon.
We met with them today.
Okay. And their intention is to sort of, at least originally I'd heard, to sort of replicate the buildings across the street a little bit.
I don't know about that, I was giving them more I was giving them information about non-conforming uses and
Yeah.
structures and stuff like that, and permitting pathways, and that's
And
about the
Aesthetics.
the aesthetics.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't say replicate the buildings as much as retail first floor and apartments upstairs, whether it's 1 or 2 stories, I don't know, up above, but tie it in with the existing package store, I believe was the plan. And that'll just dress that whole area up
Yeah.
from what's there today, but, so, looking for the Patels, that's probably some sort of variety liquor store type venue. I don't know what else they're into.
Don't know. but
Well,
just-
no,
just-
they're into residential too, and their network is bigger than East Hampton. I mean, it goes to New Jersey, so if they're looking at One Ferry Street, if they are, it'd be more than a convenience store.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be.
For sure.
That would be, I mean, that would be nice if that were housing at the end of the day of
Yeah.
some sort. But- So this, I assume this document is exactly what it says. It's a review of this. And it looks like in each section I'm seeing what East Hampton does, what nearby communities do, and what their recommendation is as a result of that.
Yeah, I think so. And when Jessica mentioned at last meeting, just briefly, she mentioned, I'm just repeating what she mentioned, a little bit less permitting requirements, and then I guess they had higher, our fees are low. And when you read between the lines on that, Westfield is the direct comparison, they must have that because they're trying to attract business. I mean, I look at that I look at that as a function of 2 things. One, Westfield is that much further away from Amherst, a little bit less regulatory, but also they compete directly with Agawam with Springfield. So, I mean, and so for machine shops to say comes in to Westfield, they can say, well, I have a spot right here, even if it's BS, it's very doable. And so maybe that's, it's a matter of, I guess, a functional bit of competition, but also, I mean, I'm not trying to be necessarily I just want to be helpful, and once we have a consensus, but I think you're competitive just by being helpful, that's all.
So you said our role the mayor is looking for is to basically call through this and determine if we would recommend, it's gonna sound redundant, if we would recommend that the recommendation should move forward.
I was gonna ask, I just wanted you to call through it and give me your opinion. Just like,
Okay.
This is the best thing since sliced bread, this is the worst thing since sliced bread. I mean, whatever, I don't, like I said, I didn't read it on purpose, because I'm gonna be reading it as you guys are reading. I don't wanna come in, and say, this is my agenda. There's 50 names here, and they're all on the communist list. No, whatever, and, so, dig into that.
Okay.
Well, when you're watching a debate,
Yes, I need a diversion,
Yeah.
Not this
other than
one.
the cocktail.
Not this one, you
Just
won't.
keep steady.
So, you know, I was a political science major, and in all honesty, I hate the debates. I always have. Going back to when they were real.
Yes.
But I have watched these two, I'm like, wow, I felt like I just played hockey.
Feel used in
Yeah.
this.
But anyway, anything new business or ideas or for the good of the moment?
Of humanity.
Yeah.
Not at the
Okay.
moment.
Any update on the school building?
Yes and no, I mean, not much, they've completed 2 visioning processes. There's an all-day visioning with educators, architects, some community people upstairs. There was one yesterday and a few Fridays ago. And then I think when they compile that report, our next meeting is sometime in November, right, the school building. And then I think the only thing that we're just kicking around right now is once we get that, updates and stuff, is we're just kind of kicking around timing of elections. Should it be a single ballot question, or should it be part of next year's off-year elections, the mayoral and city council?
It looks like right now, based on the schedule, that meeting that November timeframe is gonna be pretty tough.
I think it is myself
To
a
meet
little
it.
bit.
Well, all that's gonna go into getting that to a point that we go through an educational process with the community of what's involved, and then getting it to a ballot question for a year from now is pretty ambitious and almost, for lack of a better word, almost reckless for us to try to do it that soon. So we're probably looking at an March, April of 18, I
Right,
guess.
yeah.
But that does not detract from the overall schedule. If I recall at the last meeting, Dave, that
We should be okay.
we're on target for a new facility opening in the fall of 2020.
Nice.
And that's still, we're still on that time frame. So regardless of all the churning that's going on right now, nothing has pushed that date back yet.
And I don't think we'll know at the next meeting, but it's hopeful to know, I think maybe by January, February, if the transition's gonna be an all-at-once transition, or if there's gonna be any modular or staggered. It's just too early to talk about that, and we're all hoping that it's a one-day, or a one-phase transition. And the reason why I mention that is because then it frees up those buildings that might have a different use.
Right.
That's a lot of square footage to
Yeah.
market all at the same time.
Well, I'm just assuming there's gonna be a future use committee, and then, and they will look at that, and you're absolutely right, that should be one thing,
It's a lot to come on at once, but the beauty of it is they seem to all have their own unique identity, and they're all have potentially their own unique reuse capabilities or potentials. So, and I know we said it before, but you can look at Maple Street, that you would argue is prime for housing right at the end of your business district, with or without the existing building. You look at Center, which could potentially be some use of the building, but definitely a possibility of municipal parking for Union Street. And then you look at Pepin, which could be a mixed use, could be housing, could be office space, Class A office space, really. There's a lot of potential with Pepin, but yeah, so I don't see any dangers of them, Jamie, coming on the market all at once, because I think they might have some real distinct attractiveness to them, but
Sure.
it'll be interesting.
I mean, I think it's something, whatever, if there's a future use committee, or if it's the EDIC, or is that something that is being talked about in these discussions, or?
Not by the school process, I think anecdotally a little bit, but it's not part of that process. I mean, I think the superintendent and the mayor will have more conversations about the transition over, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, I think that's a mayor.
Yeah, it's just, there's, questions in my mind of not just, all that space coming on at the same time, but we have, from my vantage point, we have the same pool of developers working
Right.
in the city, and, all three come on, how many projects can one or two, or, does that mean that there's less competition.
Yeah, I've got a feeling this will attract some outside developers. but-
Right.
Well, and I think that's something that should be brought up, that we need to, expand that. But also, one other thing, I don't know, in the school, building process, very early on, there was a thought of possibly connecting or combining a new senior center with a new school. For various reasons, it's been kind of put to the side. There might be some land available for a new senior center, but maybe one of these three buildings is the senior center is part of this as well. I mean, just to throw it into the mix,
Yeah, I'll tell you, Dave, they, sitting on that board too, they've kind of gone back to the drawing board. And they really do like where they are. It's just,
It's really a great spot.
it's the configuration of the space
Yeah.
inside that's been the problem for them.
Space.
So we're looking at revisiting the idea of an expansion on that site
Uh-huh.
and what kind of roadblocks that might entail. But Gordy Pilgrim, who was the postmaster back in that building, thought that there was actually plans, before they built a new post office, there were plans on the table to expand that one right out to the edge of High Street.
Oh,
So could we do something like that with the senior center? Could we add a couple of floors, a couple of stories to the left of that building as you're facing it, bringing it right out to High Street? All kinds of other issues come up, parking, what have you, but,
The nice thing about when the feds do it is they're exempt from the zoning,
exactly.
so they can do whatever they want.
Well, it still says United States Post Office
Yeah.
on the building, so.
Yeah,
But anyway, there's some talk of looking at expansion on premise.
yeah.
But on the schools, exactly, it'll follow very similar to what happened with Memorial Hall and with Parsons Street. Once the school department declares a surplus, the school department's done, they hand it to the mayor, it becomes city property. And then if the mayor follows the lead of the predecessor, she would create a future use committee to look at possibilities of coming up with sort of guidelines of do's and don'ts and maybe for the sale of the property.
And I think if, once, the election comes around to the up or down on building the school, I think I'd be short-sighted at the EIC if we don't start to, at least start to talk about that here.
Yeah.
So when the future use committee is proposed, there's already a draft of like talking points, things that should be discussed, things that should be figured out. Maybe not saying like we've solved the issue, but
No.
it's like we've
Let's put
identified.
the energy
Yeah.
into
There
it.
has been.
And potentially get some representation on that.
Right.
I mean, when the mayor's looking for, a body of 7 or 9 to serve on a future use committee, maybe there should be some folks from this group, on that future use committee. The biggest, and I'm only a voice of one, and I'm not talking about that I have no affinity for history or what have you, but we just have to be careful that there's not an initial groundswell of support to save the buildings at all costs, because that diminishes the ability of what you want to do there. It diminishes the value of a sale. We've seen that in Parsons Street. Say what you want about Memorial Hall, you might talk about aesthetic issues at Memorial Hall. At Parsons Street, without that building, that property would have been, I don't know, $800,000-900,000 sale by the city.
Would have been,
It turned
at
out to
least
be a $10,000
more
sale
than that.
because you were forced to deal with
Building.
existing building. So there's always, with all due respect to historical, there's always a groundswell of support to save the buildings. And, sometimes that's not the best way to go. Sometimes. Sure, Pepin, absolutely. But Center, don't know. Maple, don't know.
Yeah, they're just old non-compliance, yada, yada, yada.
We took the state building folks through through Maple Street for a tour, and I'm not sure they could believe we were still using that as a school.
Wow.
I mean, think about it, the school was designed for all of the kids to go home for lunch every day and then come back. It didn't have a cafeteria. I mean,
My kids went there.
Boiler pipes are running through the cafeteria.
Yeah.
In a new building, I went to one vision of the two, and I see, the committee has to hash this out, but I see two little challenges. One of them, there is the site has some challenges because of some wetlands, and I think that'll be easily addressed through some creative plan. But the other challenge is, middle school's down, the state won't pay for an auditorium. Auditorium is gonna be an extra. They call them, what they do for the elementary schools, they call them cafe-auditoriums.
Yeah.
Which on small elementary schools seem to be a very practical idea. But if you're gonna have a school with possibly 600 or 700 full enrollment, and one of the other challenges there's a difference between now and difference between this project and the high school is security is more of a little more of a higher on the scale of concern. So if, I just don't think a cafetorium warrants a place of refuge. It's not big enough. And two, I think there's a lot of benefits to having an auditorium to the community. And it's just something I'm going to be watching and pushing for, even if it's, I don't know how it's going to work out, but the town might not get reimbursed for that portion of it. I think it's well worth it. But we'll see how it goes, once they give us our schemes. We're still, unfortunately, working through, it's called the Maple Street Project, so we haven't put the nail on the coffin for redeveloping Maple Street yet.
It's a process.
It's a process.
We have to bring the state along to say, look, if you give us some money to redevelop Maple Street School, we're gonna be back to you in a few years for Center School, we're gonna be back to you in a few years for Pepin, and we're gonna be back to you in a few years for Whitebrook. So you can kill 4 birds with 1 stone here, but it's a process. You can't just jump in.
Yeah.
And believe me,
We know that, we know what we need, we just have to convince you.
I've been the most frustrated at all. I'm just saying, can we just get to the finish line here? No, it's a process. We have to go through a process to get
So
there.
is the site been determined for the Whitebrook site, or are we still looking at a couple different parcels?
No, it's the Whitebrook site, but where on this site has not been determined.
And it may not be obvious to the naked eye, but Whitebrook is a very tight site because of some of the wetlands and other issues. And in a perfect world, you pull this off the same way you did the high school. I looked at a Google Earth map a couple weeks ago, and you could see the old and the new high school footprint there, and they're literally like 3 feet apart. And so you build a new one and you knock the old one down, and the kids stay in school here, then they move over here in September. Not so sure that's gonna work at Whitebrook, and if it doesn't work, then you're running into other issues about temporary housing for a year for the students, so.
Well, I think it can work. I think it just depends on the scheme that once we see a few in front of us. But it's moving along. I think February, March, you'll start seeing something. It's like a house. There's fast periods and there's slow periods, and we're still in a little bit of slow.
We're getting there.
All right. Anything else? Because I'm gonna. I have one more thing I'm gonna do. The next meeting is November 15th. This meeting is adjourned.